2014, because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, and you want it to be stolen for the benefit of U.S. billionaires, for the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? You're going to get more fucking migrants now because you did a regime change. If violence breaks out, a civil war breaks out, and there's a power vacuum that they struggle for, more people will come here. The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. And you're trying to facilitate that, oh my God. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. The guy who just did the regime change is going, I'm against this destabilization. Oh my God. I hate these people so much. Everything about them is fucking demonic. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it, not under President Trump. All right, so now George Stephanopoulos is going to go after him, and George Stephanopoulos is going to hit him with, all right, well, again, you guys keep saying half the time that it's about drugs. Well, then why the fuck did Trump pardon a convicted narco trafficker who sent $20 billion worth of drugs into this country? You can't say it's about drugs if you're freeing the worst fucking narco traffickers in history.
You mentioned the indictment of Mr. Maduro, and of course it does detail his drug-running operations. In the same jurisdiction, the former president of Honduras was actually convicted on similar charges, yet the president pardoned him. Here's what the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, had to say about that. He said, you cannot credibly argue that drug trafficking charges demand invasion in one case while issuing a pardon in another. What's your response?
Well, the president has the pardon authority. He's the one that reviewed the file with the folks at the White House to make these pardon decisions, and I refer questions to them on it because I'm not involved in the pardon process, so I can't comment on that because I wasn't involved in that process. But the president outlined yesterday that he felt that in that particular case there was unfairness, and there was unfairness in the way that individual was treated. He also pointed to the fact that the party that now won the elections in Honduras had asked for this. And so I would point to those comments as a rationale for it. In the case of Maduro,
let me decode that for you. Yes, I can't believe my idiot boss actually pardoned a guy who was a massive narco trafficker. At the same time, we're arguing we have to kidnap Maduro for narco trafficking. And I have nothing to say, so I'm just going to defer to, I had nothing to do with that, but also the president says X, Y, and Z. Low-key, he's fucking furious about that.
Look, it's very simple. This guy was indicted. No one ever did anything about it.
Maduro was indicted. Nobody ever did anything about it. Fucking Netanyahu's a proven war criminal and a genocidal maniac. Should any country be able to go in there and fucking arrest him? This is the logic you're setting up. Donald Trump is a war criminal. George W. Bush is a war criminal. Why shouldn't somebody from Iran or somebody from Russia or somebody from China fucking arrest them and drag them to their country? Right? You don't get to say only we reserve this right. We can indict a sovereign independent leader in a different country and then kidnap them and drag them here to stand trial. Okay, then why can't other countries do that to us? I got bad news for you. Our leaders are way bigger criminals than leaders from around the world. When you are the global empire, you're the one that commits the most crimes. So all of our leaders would be arrested like that in a world that had this sort of dynamic laid out.
I think he was unthreatened that the indictment was ever going to be enforced. It was enforced yesterday.
Hernandez was convicted by a jury.
I understand. You're asking about the pardon authority is something that I'm not involved in my role. I'm not criticizing it. I can't just comment on it because I just wasn't involved in those deliberations.
What a bitch. I can't criticize it because my boss will throw a fucking temper tantrum like a baby, so I'm just going to fucking sidestep.
Do you support it?
Oh, great question.
I wasn't involved in those deliberations. I haven't looked at the case file. I haven't looked at the arguments made by, I've got a bunch of other things going on that are within my purview of Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, but pardons aren't one of them. So I can't comment on a case that, frankly, I'm aware of, but not deeply and familiar with, and I don't want to comment on something that I haven't had a chance to be involved in reviewing the file and the rationale behind it.
What's so crazy is that this regime is so incompetent and so inept and so evil that they make the Bush regime look way more intelligent in comparison. And of course, in my lifetime, they were like the worst of the worst until now. Where now you get situations like this, where they pardon a $20 billion narco trafficker at the same time they arrest Maduro allegedly for narco trafficking. It's a sick joke. It's a sick joke. All right, more from Stephanopoulos and Marco Rubio. Here we go.
President Trump was pretty clear yesterday. He said the United States is going to run Venezuela. Under what legal authority?
Well, first of all, what's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on our oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United States and the interest of the Venezuelan people are met. And that's what we intend to do. So that leverage remains that leverage.
These guys don't even care about the American people. Is anybody naive enough to think they give a shit about the Venezuelan people? That's a serious question. They just kicked 18 million people off Medicaid and tripled everybody's healthcare premiums. At the same time, they cut food stamp money and cut 94 million pounds of food aid, right? And I'm supposed to believe that this government gives a shit about Venezuelans when they don't even give a shit about Americans who they're supposed to represent?
Is ongoing, and we expect that it's going to lead to results here. We're hopeful that it does positive results for the people of Venezuela, but ultimately, most importantly for us, in the national interest of the United States. We will no longer have, hopefully, as we move forward here, we'll set the conditions so that we no longer have in our hemisphere of Venezuela, that's the crossroads for many of our adversaries around the world, including Iran and Hezbollah, is no longer saying...
Oh yeah, there's a massive Hezbollah presence in Venezuela.
Drug gangs is no longer sending us drug boats. It is no longer a narco-trafficking paradise for all
this lies. By the way, if it's a free and fair trial, Maduro's going to get off. He's just going to get off, right? The only way they could actually, lock him up and have consequences from here is if it's just a complete fucking show trial. So, is it a show trial? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
All those drugs coming out of Colombia to go through the Caribbean and towards the United States. And obviously, we want a better future for the people of Venezuela. We want them to have an oil industry where the wealth goes to the people.
Again, flips the truth on its head. It's the opposite. You want the wealth for ExxonMobil and U.S. oil companies, billionaires. Right now, it's nationalized and the people get the wealth with the Venezuelan government in control.
To a handful of corrupt individuals and stolen by, pirates all over the world. That's what we're working towards, and we intend to use the leverage we have to help achieve that.
Let me ask the question again. What is the legal authority for the United States to be running Venezuela?
There is none. There's absolutely none. Everybody knows it. It's the most obvious thing in the world.
Well, I explained to you what our goals are and how we're going to use the leverage to make it happen. As far as what our legal authority is on the quarantine, I'm very simple. We have court orders. These are sanctioned votes, and we get orders from courts to go after and seize these.
You don't do foreign policy by fucking court order, you jackass. What if fucking Trump was indicted in China? Can they kidnap him and bring him there and fucking lock him up for life?
Sanctions. So that's, I don't know, is the court not a legal authority?
So is the United States running Venezuela right now?
Well, I've explained once again, I'll do it one more time. What we are running is the direction that this is going to move moving forward. And that is, we have...
That literally means nothing. By the way, I'll answer this question for you. What they did is, they kidnapped Maduro, overthrew him, but left the VP, who has the same ideology, in place. And they feel like they can coerce her and extort her and force her to basically serve U.S. oil companies, right? That's what they did. And so it's yet to be seen whether or not that'll happen. There's a chance they made a secret deal with her, but based on her bio, it seems kind of unlikely, right? So we're still in a place where a Maduro-like character is still running Venezuela. So what happens then? I guess we'll all find out.
This is leverage we are using, and we intend to use. We started using already. You can see where they are running out of storage capacity. In a few weeks, they're going to have to start pumping oil unless they make changes. And that leverage that we have with the armada of boats that are currently positioned allow us to seize any sanctioned boats coming into or out of Venezuela.
So in other words, we're going to continue an illegal blockade and a forever war in order to extort and fucking coerce the president to do what we want.
Loaded with oil or on its way in to pick up oil, and we can pick and choose which ones we go after. We have court orders for each one. That will continue to be in place until the people who have control over the levers of power in that country make changes that are not just in the interest of the people of Venezuela, but are in the interest of the United States and the things that we care about.
Notice, the same people who were blowing off court orders relentlessly in the first year of Trump's regime, now all of a sudden he's pretending like he has bogus court orders to do an illegal regime change and an illegal blockade. It's unbelievable how dishonest these guys are. All right, Marco Rubio absolutely shits the bed when it comes to the comparison between Venezuela and Iraq.
Let's talk big picture here. The U.S. regime change, historically speaking, has not gone very well for the United States. In Iraq, in Libya, to name a few examples. Can you assure Americans, the people of the United States, that this time will be different?
Well, here's what's happened. We've got this phobia built up and this sort of thing that's like, number one, most of the experts that people have on television, I watch these experts and it's clown hour, okay? These are people that have focused their entire career on the Middle East or some other part of the world because that's where all the action was. Very few of them know anything about Venezuela or the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through their plotting against America, okay? These are Western countries with long traditions among their people-to-people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So it's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop describing apples and oranges here. The apples of the Middle East are the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
This is so fucking disgusting because the comparison is in the principle of what we're doing here. It is an illegal and offensive attack against a country that didn't attack us, was not threatening us, right? We are deposing the leader with no plan as to what comes afterwards, and we're doing it for oil, okay? So it is in the principle of what's going on here. For him to say, well, technically Venezuela is a very different country from Iraq, like they speak different languages, for example. Like, who gives a shit about that? That's not what we're talking about.
Like, it's such a fucking pedantic way to try to nitpick your way out of the fact that this is exactly alike. Now, by the way, just to put a finer point on that, here are the eerie parallels between the run-up to Iraq and the run-up to Venezuela, and Jon Stewart lays it out for us perfectly.
Eerie Iraq parallel? Well, we got one guy making the same case for both wars, and yes, it's confusing.
Saddam Hussein's a threat in our country. He's a threat to our way of life. He needs to go.
Maduro is an existential threat to the people of the United States. It is time for Maduro to go.
Hit me with the worst! Iraq, Venezuela, go!
We're giving them full opportunity to do it the easy way. And when it doesn't work, we'll do it the hard way.
If we can do things the easy way, that's fine. And if we have to do it the hard way, that's fine too.
Chemical weapons. Expansion poses a chemical weapons threat to the United States.
Al-Qaeda terrorists inside Iraq. Al-Qaeda in our hemisphere.
There's an opportunity to transform the entire region. Bring freedom and democracy.
Democracy and freedom can serve as a
Speaking of hope,
Shocking awe, indeed. If you think this is getting confusing, you're not alone. Even senators can't keep these Bush or Trump wars straight. This is Senator Tom Cotton from this weekend.
I think President Bush has every power under the Constitution to strike votes in international waters.
Venezuela has the largest reserve of oil in the world. We're going to pull it out a rich, top of rich natural energy. I'm sure there are U.S. companies that would like to do business there. Venezuela for the American oil companies.
I didn't think this war was a wise decision, but
America first means we need a Western hemisphere where America is dominant.
America first. You start with your own hemisphere.
America first also means being America's first.
South America literally has the name America in it.
Spinning image, and everybody
You're
like and subscribe, and help out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now.
He is the newest news correspondent for The Daily Show. He's hilarious. You're going to love him. Put your hands together for Josh Johnson.
Okay. I don't know if y'all heard about that dude in Wisconsin that faked his death and maybe moved to Europe. If you haven't heard about this, great. Okay, so basically, what we know is that supposedly there was a man who faked his death and might be in Europe right now. And he has a family, right? 3 kids, a wife, and everything. And one thing we usually don't do as men is give a man the credit that we owe him for being the new bottom, like the new lowest common denominator. Like, as men, we need this man. We need him, all right? You know, anytime you mess up as a man, when there's a man near you who has messed up worse, you be like, hey, I could be that guy. You know, next time you forget a birthday or something, be like, baby, look, I'm sorry I messed up. But you know what I didn't do is fake my death and move to Europe. Some people do that. I love you, and I would never. If I die, it'll be for real. I'm a good man. When I die, it will be of an ulcer or something. You know what I mean? Something where you've really held the pain in, didn't talk to anybody, didn't try to do anything about it. You know, real man stuff. I'm gonna do what men are supposed to. I'm gonna support this family, not go to therapy, hold it all in. And then one day grab my chest like, and you'll know that maybe, hey, maybe there it is. We should have left this one argument alone, right? Because I would never fake my death and move to Europe. I've done plenty of things, plenty of dumb things. Sometimes I'm just like having a good day, not really paying attention, and then you come in and you haven't had a good day. So you're telling me all the things that happened in your day that were not good. And instead of listening, I'm just sort of nodding, right? I'm just sort of nodding and being like, Different versions of like tasting something when you're telling me a story. And then you catch on that I'm not listening. So you ask me, what did I just say? And then I say, what did I just say? And you can tell I haven't been listening. And I know I should listen. I know that you're telling me this to vent because you trust me and you want my input on your day, right? I know that I let you down, but you know what I didn't do is fake my death and move to Europe. I'm not saying it makes me a hero, but it definitely stops me from being a villain. As men, that's one of our favorite things. When you mess up, but then somebody messed up next to you and it's way worse. You know? It's like when you go out to eat. Go out to a nice dinner. You know, you take your lady out. And you're having a good time and everything. And then something comes up, maybe it's a little annoying. And maybe you start to like bicker a little bit. You know? Just like at the table, in between the server checking on you. Just a little bit of like, well, you know that. You know that good whispering. You know that in between your teeth. Not here. You know, you got both on edge and everything, so you in between the teeth, and she's over here saying everything, but just at that level of like half miming, half voicing. It's like, I'm just trying to keep things together, okay? Server comes up, is like, can I get y'all? Oh, no, we're fine. It's a good night. How are you doing? How's your night going? And it's tough, you know, because you'll be in a moment. Just bicker. And then, out of nowhere, a couple next to you, the next table over, that haven't been bickering, the couple that you look at like, why can't we be like this? She stands up and she throws wine in his face. And she's like, what do you mean your mistress is pregnant? And now all of a sudden you're like, I'm pretty good, right? Like I'm pretty good guy. Can you give me that? Then I ain't do all that. You got the white wine, you wouldn't even stain my shirt. Like, I would never put you through that, what those strangers are going through right now. And so it's good. It's good to have a new low as a man. You know I'm telling the truth. You know sooner or later you're gonna be in an argument and you're like, fine, all right, I'm no prize. But I'm here, right? I'm not in Europe, am I? I talk to you when we have a problem. I talk to you like a man. I don't hide my wallet on the shore. Yeah, this guy apparently faked his death.
I'll keep this close.
Moved to Europe, and like, there's a lot of layers here. There's a lot of things to unpack, because let's also not pretend